Hello and welcome into another edition of 8Sports Nightcap here on WRACNow.com, on our Facebook page, on YouTube, as well as on your WRAC Plus app, on your smart TVs. Got a very special episode of the Nightcap this week. You know, we were just talking about, I think it's 18, 19, how many days? We just said it, 18 days away until the NASCAR Cup Series returns to Richmond Raceway in just over 2 weeks. And to kind of preview our coverage of being out at the track, we're bringing in one of the Cup Series drivers himself, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Ricky, thanks for stopping by the studio today. I know you've kind of been all over the place, I'm sure.
Yeah, thanks for having me in today. It's been a busy Tuesday, but no, it's been good. You know, getting up here to Richmond. Yeah, I wish I had a little bit more time to go eat some good food around here, but yeah, I'll be back on a plane here for too long, headed back to Charlotte. But always look forward to coming up to Richmond. Always a great time here at the racetrack, and now that we only have one Cup race here, it's important that all the fans come out and watch that one on August 16th. So glad to have being here in studio with you and hanging out for the day.
Yeah, you're going to have to go get some ZZQ before you go or something. There's some really good barbecue here, surprisingly, in Richmond. To kind of talk about the Cookout 400 coming up, you kind of alluded to it. Just one race this year. We're all really disappointed about it, obviously. It's just the second time. The only other time was during the COVID season that you guys only came once. What's kind of your mindset going into this, or I guess in a couple of weeks, coming to the Richmond Raceway?
Yeah, it'll be, 2 races left to make the playoffs. So, I think the intensity level kind of ramps up the closer you get to the end of the regular season, and we go from Richmond straight to Daytona. So by the time we get to race week here, there'll be a lot of guys trying to get that win. Last year's race was chaotic there at the end, and unfortunately I was the reason the caution came out to begin with. So try not to be a part of that again. But, we had a strong, solid car. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to getting back here. And like I said, the intensity level ramps up. Only having one race at Richmond. Hopefully a lot of fans come out and we put on a great show. I think a lot of us love coming to Richmond. I like to play golf, Saturday morning before the race. It's a nice way to kick off race day for me. And, so we're looking forward to it.
What about racing, under the lights at Richmond on a Saturday? I know fans were very excited about the fact that the races, we lost one, but we are now going from Sunday night racing to Saturday night racing. Is that gonna mess up your scheduled week out now that it's a Saturday race, not a Sunday?
It's not going to affect my schedule. I think it's good for our fans, especially the ones that have kids that are already back in school and need to get home on Sunday so they can go to school Monday. So short track racing always was on a Friday, Saturday night, and it's cool to see Richmond getting back to that short track Saturday night racing. A lot of our drivers grew up around this area, racing on short tracks all throughout Virginia, and now that we're gonna be racing our Cup race Saturday night at 7:30 on August 16th is awesome. We got the truck race on Friday night and the modified race on Thursday as well. So it'll be a fun, action-packed weekend at Richmond.
And what I think the racetrack is also expecting a lot of new fans to come out to the race this year with the boom that we've seen in Richmond over the past few years with so many new people moving here, maybe want to get out of the house and go to the race. What would you say are the benefits and the best parts about going to a NASCAR race?
Well, I think, especially this year in particular, a lot of us drivers are out in the fan zone. There's a lot of cool things to do in our fan zone that the racetracks come up with, that NASCAR comes up with, and all of our autograph sessions and merchandise haulers are out there. So, you'll get to meet a lot of us drivers that are, going to be competing in the race on Saturday night. And there's a lot of things for the whole family to do, not just adults, not just kids, everything from, in between for kids and adults. And so, I always look forward to going out to the fan zone, seeing what's out there. Every racetrack has a unique thing to it. For the longest time, Richmond had bowling lanes out in the front, and you could watch some professionals bowl out there. So always a lot of cool things. And then, cap it off with an amazing race. Under the lights, you'll see us beating and banging, and you'll see sparks flying. And, for me, this racetrack is Got some really good highlights from under the lights here, and last year was on a Sunday night, but it was pretty chaotic, and a lot of things happened. So you never know what's going to happen at Richmond.
I'd love to get into your background a little bit. You've been in the series for a while now. 2010 is when you're Rookie of the Year. You've been doing this for a while now, Ricky. Does it feel like you've been, in this series for, close to 15 years? Or
yes and no. It seems like that. The very first time I came to Richmond was, I was just talking about this earlier today. It was back in 2007. I ran a USAC open wheel car, I think when IndyCar was here back in 2007. Wow. So that was the first time I ever visited Richmond Raceway. And, it's, been loving coming to this racetrack ever since. And like you said, I've been doing this for a long time. When I was in the Xfinity series, we ran here a lot. We were really competitive, got poles, ran up front. Never got that win here. We were on our way to a win and ran out of gas. So that was a bummer. But love coming here. Been doing this a long time. I would say the years, go by somewhat slow for the most part till you get to the summer stretch, and it seems like the summer like flies by, and all of a sudden it's like, dang, Richmond weekend, we only got 12 races left. So, it goes slow sometimes and then fast, other times, but as part of the sport, I love the sport. I think it's, very family oriented. I grew up going to the racetrack with my family and racing against other kids that had their whole families out there. And, that's what NASCAR is.
When I think of Ricky Stenhouse, the first thing that comes to my mind, and I'm sure a lot of fans, is the 23 Daytona 500 win.
Right. I like that.
What did you see your career change from maybe the popularity standpoint, or the way you looked back at your career being able to get one of those crown jewel wins?
Yeah, I mean, anytime you can, mark a Daytona 500, win off your list is special. The longer you go, the tougher it seems to get that one, checked off the list. So glad that we finally got it. I think it was my 13th try at the 500, and woke up that morning and I just felt like we were going to win, and turns out we did. So that's the only time that I've really had that feeling. Really? I hope I wake up with that feeling a little bit more, before my career's up. But to get that knocked off the list, it's always nice being introduced as a Daytona 500 champion. Absolutely, the biggest race of our sport. Obviously, I mean, there's plenty of other races I want to win, but I would put that one and then a championship right next to it. So
is that your favorite
glad
win?
To get that one off.
Is that your favorite win?
By far. I mean, you never forget your first win. Winning at Talladega, which was basically my home racetrack, was super special. But nothing compares to winning a Daytona 500.
To kind of go back, maybe look at this season, this summer, it feels like I've just been watching road course races, street course races nonstop. I don't think it's that many more than normal, but the fact that they've been so, kind of sandwiched into one another, does that make you feel more comfortable at a road race or street race track?
It's definitely easier just to stay in the mindset of, turning left and right, and, worry about working on the brakes, as hard as you can. And, obviously we had Mexico, kind of started that swing of road courses, followed by Chicago and Sonoma. And for me, we learned a lot at Mexico that kind of helped us in Chicago, and then turnaround went right to Sonoma, which I think again we learned very quickly of what we needed to do to be better at those racetracks. And so staying in the mindset of road course racing, I think helped, at least for me. It didn't really help any of us get close to SVG and how fast he was, but, it was good. And I'm, I always look forward to going to Chicago in the summer. That was my son's birthday weekend. So, always a good weekend.
And to kind of look ahead to this upcoming race we kind of talked about before we started recording, you're going to Iowa. You said that's a place you like to race. What makes Iowa special?
I would say kind of a sister track to Richmond. It's shaped very similar. Corners are a little bit longer, straightaways, maybe a little bit shorter. Sometimes you feel like you're carrying a little bit more speed than Richmond. But when you pull in, you almost feel like you're at Richmond. So, they repaved it last year in certain areas, and that threw kind of an unknown out there for us going into the race last year. The winners in Iowa really aged the asphalt pretty quick. So watching, some races from, a couple weeks ago, it looks like the asphalt's aged a lot. Richmond, that's one of the perks about racing at Richmond is old asphalt. It wears the tires out, and the teams and drivers like that. I think it helps put on, better racing. So looking forward to hopefully seeing that at Iowa this weekend. We finished fifth there last year. It'd be nice to get a few spots better. So when we come into Richmond, we don't have to win. That'd be nice to knock that off the list this weekend.
Yeah, I'd like to change gears a little bit. You mentioned, the teams like that. I'm curious, how much of a role do you have in the setup in the car each week?
Yeah, I a decent amount. I'm the one giving the inputs and the feedback from, every single race we have. We're a single car team. We don't have any teammates. So basically everything that we're doing is based off of, the feedback I give and then the simulation that our guys have on their computers. And, so we look at a lot of historical data, what we've done with this race car at these types of racetracks. For us, we have been fast at all the different types of racetracks we've been to. So now it's just about putting it all together. You're still trying to improve your setup, but try not to get too far away from, what you feel like is a good setup. So you're always evolving and changing. So, on a given weekend, go out for practice and, I'm running my laps. I'm giving all the input and feedback that I can to my team guys and my engineers, trying to make the best changes that we can right before qualifying. We only got, normal weekend. We got 20 minutes and then we go right into qualifying, but then we'll go sit in the hauler and debrief. And I feel like that's where we do a really good job with our HIAC team, is just really focusing in on, what we need to be better for the race. And I feel like we always make really good adjustments, make my car faster than it was in practice and in qualifying. So I'd say I have a lot to do with it as far as, the adjustments go. Yep. I let them come up with the baseline setup. You don't want me doing that.
And what's it kind of like being the face of this massive team that you're a part of? There's so many different guys that are, either in the pit crew or the engineers that are doing all these things, but it's Ricky Stenhouse name on the car. That's got to be a added pressure almost, right?
Yeah, it's a little bit. I mean, you want to go out there and perform. You want to do, things for your partners that are, part of this race team. We got some great partners. We got an All Energy drink coming up at our race in Iowa this weekend. We had Raid on our car last weekend in Indianapolis. Fun Pop's done a lot of stuff for us this year. Sunny D, Hungry Jack, Martin's Famous Potato Rolls. So we've got a great group of, partners that, trust in us to go out there and, run well, but advertise for their products at the same time. And so I have a lot of fun doing that. I enjoy it. But yeah, having, kind of the race team on your shoulders, per se, while you're out there racing, and, I don't have another teammate to go get a win for us, for the team. So, we got a lot of pressure on us, and my pit crew and crew chiefs and engineers, they got just as much pressure, making sure that they give me the best car that they can. And then, when I come in the pits, making sure that we have the fastest pit stop that we can to make sure we have opportunities to win and put ourselves in great position.
Kind of your pre-race routine. We kind of alluded to it earlier. You've been in this series for a long time, someone that has a lot of experience at a lot of these tracks. Do you spend a lot of time on this sim, or is at this point in your career, you can run Richmond, you can run Iowa with your eyes closed without putting any laps down each week?
Yeah, I mean, I can run them, with your eyes closed. I mean, I, go to Indy this past weekend, and very first lap on track was within a tenth or two of my best lap that I ran, during that practice session. So, I feel like I don't really need the sim as far as like myself and, what I need to do driving. But we use it for our setups, and there's times that we feel like it really correlates well. There's sometimes that we feel like it almost kind of sends us down a path that might not be correct. And so it's really, one of those things that my engineers really had to decipher, exactly what the simulator is trying to tell us, what we actually work on in the simulator. So I think it's different for everybody. We like to work on big concept things. We might go in there and make big changes to our race car, and not just little small ones to fine tune. So it changes week to week. Some days I'm like, man, that correlated really well. Some days I'm like, man, that was a waste of time.
Do you use it more during a road course week, maybe to
For me,
get a better idea?
me personally, going to run laps at Sonoma or Chicago, Mexico City, the Roval coming up, Watkins Glen, definitely, I like jumping in the sim and just, getting a feel for it. Kind of like you mentioned earlier, us having all the road courses, back to back. It was nice to, already be in that rhythm of road course racing because it is so different than what we normally do on a given oval weekend. So yeah, I definitely use it for, just getting comfortable and making some laps.
Well, I got a few more questions here for you. Talking about pre-race, do you have a pre-race routine that you do each week? A certain meal, or do you stretch? But like, do you have any sort of routine, or is it each week different?
Yeah, each week is different. I wish that I had 2 or 3 hours to myself, right before the race. But our sport's totally different. We're out signing autographs for fans, doing appearances outside the racetrack, and it could be 2 or 3 appearances, or it could be 5 appearances before the race. And then, once we have chapel, once that kind of starts, I generally on a normal race weekend, I'll take my lunch, go into chapel, eat my lunch while I'm in there. Then I'll have my team meeting, and then right after that, I'm changing, going to the driver's meeting. And really from chapel on, it really stays about the same as far as my schedule goes. I probably have a total of 15 minutes to myself, once that starts, till I get in the race car. So, you'll see us on race day out and about in the fan zone, seeing fans and doing things for partners. And then, we'll right after the national anthem, we strap in, jump in, and go.
And last question for you, a fun one. Who's your favorite driver you've ever driven with, and who's a driver that you didn't have the opportunity to race with that you would have loved to?
Man, I got to race with a lot of great drivers. I got to race against Jeff Gordon, Tony Stewart, Jimmy Johnson, Dell Jr., Kenseth, Carl Edwards. I mean, just so many of the greats. I got to race against Mark Martin. I would say, it'd been cool to race against Dell Sr., obviously. I think that's one that everybody wishes they could have just been in the maybe wouldn't even have to be on the racetrack with, just be in the garage with, and just kind of see how he moved the sport along and kind of the presence he had, at the racetrack. I think that'd have been, really cool to see. But man, I got to race with a lot of cool ones.
Awesome. Well, so then Ricky Stenhouse, thanks so much for taking the time to join the Nightcap. Good luck this week in Iowa, and we'll see you here in 2 weeks at Richmond Raceway.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks so much.